Hello, my friend. It's nice to see. It's nice to. Would you excuse me for one moment? Thank you. Right. Sorry about that. I was just showing my friend how to use a shovel. Now, I hear you're back for another round. Do you think you can handle Audio Stories 3 Terrifying Tales? Well then, let us begin. If we had been done with marching practice at 10:30 rather than 10, I might have noticed there was something wrong. If I had gone over to mess around on the large rocks a few minutes earlier, rather than listen to the saxes warm up and kick pine cones around, I might have heard the loud noises. If I had used my phone to check the time, I might have realized that my mother was even later than when we were supposed to be done. If I had gone a bit further down the parking lot, I would have seen the car crash at the intersection right by the school. If I had seen that crash, I would have seen my mother's car at the center, completely destroyed. On the driver's side, that is. If my mother had come to pick me up a few minutes later, I would have probably called my father or my brother to pick me up. If my mother had arrived in her car, I wouldn't have to ask so many questions. If I had noticed that my mother was dead, with glass and metal sticking out of the left side of her body, I would have sprinted back into school's music hallway, blocking the doors behind me, screaming for help. If I had gotten into the unfamiliar car with my mother, I might have seen the knife she was holding, as I could see into the car at a better angle. If she had not been possessed and brought back to life with one single mission, I might have had a great time doing marching practice for all 4 years of high school. If I didn't have marching band that day, my mother and I may have lived. It began with a vague sensation of existence, a rudimentary feeling of self-awareness. A small fire burned from within. A conscious of blurry boundaries occupied a body of strict limits, a frontier to an outside world. I had no mass, and as such, I didn't weigh, yet gravity pulled me down towards the surface. Vacuum transformed into matter. At the same moment, my back smashed into a rocky ground. I woke up from what felt like a dream, although the pain was real indeed. The soreness in my muscles prevented any movement. A buzzing in my ears grew sharper by the minute, and a spot of blood dyed my fingers red. After making contact with my forehead, I slid in and out of consciousness under the brightness of the roaring sky. I've survived in this mountain range thanks to the cool water moving downstream and the odd animal I've managed to catch. The sun and the moon have executed 5 cycles since the fall, more than enough time to reflect about the truth I've been struck upon. Humankind has a long way to go, starting from me. The brain will evolve to dominate science and natural resources, forever changing the pristine landscape I landed on. The bright side of the future is eclipsed by the pain and suffering my descendants will afflict on one another for millennia, ending with an explosion that leaves no soul unharmed. The energy of the blast brought me back in time, knowing what my sons and daughters face. As I yearn for my own personal safety, I also vouch for that of those whom I swore to protect. With the dying sun as my only witness, I decide to stand up and take a leap of faith. I feel my body precipitating onto the surface of the earth. Finally, an impact. I know it sounds crazy, but it actually does. I don't know if it's been happening since my birth, But I noticed when I was 14, I was sitting in my room listening to some music and staring out the window when I actually realised it. I was listening to a random playlist of different artists, and when the songs I liked, like Sugar by System of a Down, came on, the sun would come out. If a song by an artist that I disliked, and it would randomly start to rain. I spent the next few hours messing with the weather and having it rain one moment, then beautiful and sunny the next. It was so funny watching the news broadcasters that night, as the poor weatherman had no idea how to explain it. I tried to explain it to people, but no one would ever believe me. They always laughed and called me crazy. Over time, I just went on with my life, and sometimes used my power to guarantee me good weather when I needed it. A couple of weeks ago, I had a baby boy. I love him to bits, but just wish he would stop crying. He cries non-stop and has been doing my head in. My husband thinks I may be suffering from depression, and I think he's right. Today I decided to bring my son outside for a walk. Got all dressed up in my favorite outfit. I brought him to the park, and he started to cry. So I picked him up and tried to calm him down. Within seconds of picking him up, he started puking all over me. I stood there in shock for a few moments before putting him back in his pram. I started screaming in anger at him for destroying my life. I wasn't paying attention to the sky and didn't see the storm clouds gathering. I just kept screaming at him until my voice became hoarse. I walked away for a moment and jumped when I heard the rattle of thunder above me. I spun around as I watched 100 lightning strikes hit the pram. It only lasted less than a minute, until the clouds dissipated and the lightning spotted. I walked over to the pram and gazed down at the bloody mess inside, and finally understood what happens